You tell yourself you're lazy. You beat yourself up for poor time management. You tried every productivity app there is, every hack, every system. But research shows that nearly 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators. So, what if I told you that everything you think about or know about procrastination could be wrong? What if your procrastination isn't a character flaw at all, but actually your brain's way of protecting you from something much deeper? Today, I'm going to show you the hidden psychological reason you procrastinate that few productivity gurus will explain. Now, this reason is rooted in how your limbic system evaluates threats, creating immediate emotional payoffs that override your logical mind. And once you understand this internal battle happening in your brain, everything changes. The battle inside your brain. You know that moment when you sit down to start something important and suddenly your brain offers you 1,000 other things to do instead. Maybe you need to check your phone, organize your desk, or remember that you haven't talked to your mom in weeks. This isn't random chaos happening in your head. There's actually a very specific battle taking place between two powerful systems in your brain. And understanding this fight changes everything about how you see your procrastination. Let me share with you what's really happening up there. You see, a logical prefrontal cortex sets goals and creates plans. But your older limbic system overrides it by treating difficult tasks like threats, hijacking you into a fight or flight response. Psychologist Daniel Goleman defines this as an emotional takeover that shuts down rational thinking. But then there's the limbic system, which includes a small almond shaped structure called the amygdala. Now, this is your emotional brain, your survival center, the part that has kept humans alive for thousands of years. Here's what you need to understand about the system: it cannot tell the difference between a real physical threat and an emotional threat. Isn't that remarkable? None whatsoever. You just can't make it out. So when you face a work presentation, your amygdala fires just like in a saber-toothed tiger encounter, flooding you with stress hormones and stealing power from your prefrontal cortex. Your limbic system seeks immediate dopamine rewards. So it prioritizes easier tasks to quell your stress, a phenomenon documented in procrastination research. Picture this scene playing out in your head. Your prefrontal cortex sits down with your laptop and starts planning out your project. It breaks down the tasks, organizes the timeline, and gets ready to work. But then your amygdala notices something threatening about this task. Maybe it's the possibility of failure. Maybe it's about criticism. Maybe you're self-criticizing yourself, or the fear of not being good enough. Suddenly, your amygdala starts screaming danger signals throughout your entire system. Your logical brain tries to stay focused, but it's like trying to solve maths problems while someone is shouting fire in a crowded theater. The emotional brain wins every time because survival always takes priority over productivity. This is why willpower and discipline don't work for chronic procrastination. You're not fighting against laziness or poor time management. You're fighting against millions of years of human nature designed to keep you safe. Now, this internal battle creates very real physical sensations in your body. You might feel your chest tighten when you think about starting that very important task. Your stomach might twist into knots. You might feel restless, anxious, or suddenly desperate to do anything else. Something, but anything else. Some people feel an overwhelming urge to clean the entire house, reorganize their closet, or scroll through social media for hours. These aren't random behaviors. You might think they are, but they aren't. They are your nervous system trying to regulate itself and escape the perceived threat. The most important thing you need to understand is this: your procrastination is actually your brain trying to protect you from what it perceives as emotional harm. Your limbic system genuinely believes it's saving you from something dangerous. It's not trying to sabotage your success or make your life difficult. It's doing exactly what's designed to do, which is keep you safe from all threats. When you start to see procrastination this way, everything shifts. So instead of fighting against yourself or judging yourself for being weak, you can begin to work with your brain's natural protective instincts. You can start asking better questions like, what is my brain trying to protect me from? Or what threat does it think it sees in this task? But here's where it gets really interesting. The specific way your brain tries to protect you reveals something crucial about what you're actually afraid of underneath it all. What your procrastination style reveals. The way you procrastinate tells a story about what you're really afraid of. Your specific procrastination patterns aren't random behaviors. They're actually your brain's customized protection system responding to every particular emotional threat. When you understand your unique procrastination style, you unlock the key to understanding what your mind is desperately trying to shield you from. Most people assume all procrastination looks the same, but this is not anywhere close to the truth. A perfectionist procrastinator behaves completely differently from someone who procrastinates from overwhelm or rebellion. Each style serves a totally different emotional purpose, and recognizing your pattern is like having a roadmap to your deepest fears and unmet needs. Let me share with you the three main procrastination styles and what each one reveals about your inner world. The perfectionist procrastinator. They delay starting tasks because they cannot handle the possibility of creating something slightly or radically imperfect, which is all in their mind. Studies show perfectionism is tied to avoidance to protect self esteem. Their brain treats the risk of imperfection like a genuine threat to their own survival. These procrastinators often spend hours researching, planning, and preparing before they ever begin actually working. They convince themselves they need just a little more information, one more book, one more tutorial before they start, and they'll be fully ready. But here's what's really happening. Their limbic system has decided that anything less than perfect equals failure. And failure feels dangerous. So their brain keeps them in the safe zone of preparation mode, where they can't fail because they haven't actually started yet. Isn't that funny? But actually, it's not. The rebel procrastinator operates from a completely different emotional trigger. These people delay tasks specifically when they feel like someone else is telling them what to do. Their procrastination flares up more intensely around deadlines, assignments, or expectations that feel imposed from outside. Their brain interprets external demands as threats to their autonomy and freedom. When their boss sets a deadline or their partner asks them to complete something, their limbic system screams that their independence is under threat or attack. Delaying then becomes their way of maintaining psychological control and asserting their right to choose. They might eventually complete the task, but only after they've proven to themselves that they're doing it on their very own terms and not on anyone else's requests or demands. The overwhelmed procrastinator faces a different challenge entirely. They delay because they genuinely cannot figure out where to start when everything feels equally urgent and important. Overwhelmed procrastinators see every option as risky. Research links this confusion to the amygdala-driven avoidance. Their brain gets stuck in analysis paralysis, spinning rapidly between different priorities without being able to land on one. Their limbic system interprets this confusion as danger because unclear situations feel unpredictable and threatening. So instead of picking any starting point, they choose none. They end up doing smaller, less important tasks that feel more manageable, while the big, overwhelming project still sits untouched. Each of these styles serves a completely different emotional function. The perfectionist protects their self-image and sense of competency. The rebel maintains their autonomy and control. The overwhelmed person avoids the anxiety of making wrong choices. You might recognize yourself in one of these patterns, or you might see elements of multiple styles depending on the situation. The beautiful thing about identifying your procrastination style is that it immediately tells you what emotional need isn't being met deep down. When you procrastinate like a perfectionist, your need for self acceptance and self compassion isn't being fulfilled. When you procrastinate like a rebel, your need for autonomy and choice isn't being honored. When you procrastinate from overwhelm, your need for clarity and direction isn't being addressed adequately. Understanding your style also explains why generic productivity advice doesn't work for you or work blanket for everybody in the world. A perfectionist doesn't need better time management skills. They don't need more time management apps. They just need permission to create imperfect first drafts. A rebel doesn't need stricter deadlines. They need more choices and autonomy in how they approach their work. Once you know what you're protecting and what emotional need drives your procrastination, you can finally start addressing the real issue underneath. But here's something that might surprise you about why these patterns persist even when you understand them. The hidden emotional payoff. Your procrastination is actually working perfectly, just not for the goals you think you want. This might sound crazy, but your brain keeps choosing procrastination because it's giving you something valuable that you need more than completing that task. Your procrastination always serves a hidden emotional purpose that feels more important than the work itself, even when you don't consciously realize what the purpose is. People keep procrastinating because it's meeting a real emotional need. And until you understand what that need is, you'll keep returning to the same patterns. Your brain isn't broken or lazy. It's actually being incredibly logical by choosing the option that provides the most immediate emotional benefit for you. The problem is that these benefits are often invisible to your conscious mind, which is why you feel frustrated and confused about your own behavior. You don't like it. You want to change it. Let me share with you the two main emotional payoffs that procrastination provides. And you'll probably recognize yourself in at least one of these patterns. First, procrastination gives you a sense of control when everything else in your life feels chaotic and demanding. So, when your boss is breathing down your neck, your family needs attention, your phone won't stop buzzing with notifications, delaying that one task becomes your one way of saying, I still get to choose something in my life. I still get to make my own decision in this one way. So it's your brain's way of creating space where you have agency, even if that space is just the decision not to do something right now. Secondly, procrastination protects your self image by letting you blame poor results on lack of time rather than lack of ability. Now, this is a brilliant psychological defense mechanism that keeps your sense of competence intact. If you rush through a project at the last minute and it doesn't turn out well, you can tell yourself and others that you simply didn't have enough time. You never have to face the scarier question of whether you would have done better with more time at all. Your brain chooses the story that preserves your self-worth. Beyond these primary payoffs, procrastination can also create excitement for people who feel understimulated, serve as emotional self-care when you're overwhelmed, or help maintain your identity as someone who doesn't conform to external expectations. Here's what you need to understand about these emotional payoffs. They feel more immediately important than the long term consequences because your limbic system is designed to prioritize immediate emotional needs over future benefits. When you're feeling overwhelmed, out of control, or threatened, your brain will always choose the options that provide immediate emotional relief, even if it creates problems later on. Your procrastination initially feels good because it activates your brain's reward system. Research shows dopamine surges when avoiding stress by procrastinating, reinforcing the habit again. When you avoid a challenging task in favor of something more enjoyable, your brain experiences a short term reward by reducing stress or discomfort. Now, this quick emotional relief gets stamped into your habit loop, and this makes procrastination feel like the very logical choice every time you do that. The most important insight here is that you procrastinate because you can't manage the uncomfortable emotions that the task is bringing up: anxiety, boredom, frustration, or self doubt. Procrastination becomes your way of coping with these feelings. Once you identify what emotional need your procrastination is meeting, everything changes. Your behavior finally makes sense. You can stop judging yourself for being weak or lazy and start addressing the real issue underneath. Next time you delay, ask, what emotional need am I meeting here? To begin untangling the payoff. Real change happens when you find healthier ways to meet these same emotional needs that procrastination has been fulfilling in your life. When you understand what your brain is trying to protect or provide for you, you can finally start working with these patterns instead of working against them. Finally, the key to lasting change lies in recognizing these emotional patterns before they take full control. Your procrastination isn't broken. It's been trying to tell you something important about what you need to feel safe and valued. For years, you've been fighting against a system that was actually trying to protect you from emotional harm. This week, journal each time you delay a task and note the emotion driving it. This simple habit begins shifting your brain's response. Studies show naming the emotion reduces amygdala activation by over 40%, helping you regain control. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Afraid of not being good enough? Angry about being controlled? Write these feelings down. Once you understand your emotional patterns, you can now finally work with your brain instead of fighting it. And if this video helped you see procrastination differently, subscribe for more neuroscience based insights that can transform how you understand yourself and how to live a life at your optimum. Thank you and have a lovely day.